Hello everybody, my name is Sean Butler. I'm the Communications Manager at the United Grand Lodge of England, and on this International Men's Day we're partnering with Brother the Masonic Podcast to talk about mental health and to share our own experiences in the hope that it encourages others to do so. My own experiences with mental health started in 2013 when I was a second year undergraduate student at university. I noticed a few things started to sort of come into my life and started to be problematic for me. You know, I was perhaps not sleeping as well as I had been previously. I couldn't concentrate or relax. You know, it was just little things like this. And I just sort of put it down to the normal stresses of being a student and sort of everything that comes with that. And, you know, maybe a little phase I was going through, you know, whatever. But I certainly didn't really put too much thought or worry into it. And then I remember vividly, I'd sort of gone home for Christmas and gone out for a Christmas curry, an annual sort of curry with friends. And I came home, and at about 4 o'clock the next morning, I woke up with what can only be described as an overwhelming and intense feeling of panic and anxiety. And it was all encompassing. You know, it affected all of my body, essentially. You know, I was unable to focus. I was sweating. I had a banging headache. My heart was beating at what seemed like a million miles per hour. My legs and arms were physically shaking, and I felt dizzy. And my stomach felt strange. It was horrible, and as I said, all encompassing. I felt like I couldn't even breathe properly. You know, it was a really overwhelming and horrible experience, and the first that I'd ever felt anything near this. So when I managed to sort of calm down a little bit, I managed to sort of just breathe. That was the natural thing I felt like I really needed to do, just breathe in and out and in and out. And eventually I started to feel myself relaxing a bit. And the only thing I could think to do at that point was to go and walk. That seemed to be the solution. So I got up, and as I said, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I got up and went out for a walk, and I walked for hours, trying to come to terms with what on earth had sort of just happened to me. And this happened then for a good 3 or 4 weeks. You know, every few days this was happening, and it was horrible. And even though it was continuously happening, I still had no real understanding of what this thing was. So I did a bit of research, and I identified it as anxiety, as sort of general anxiety. And then what I realised is that those symptoms that I'd been experiencing previously, the lack of sleep, you know, the inability to focus or relax, were all linked in to a you know, anxiety and struggling with mental health. And Although I was sort of happy that I'd identified what it was and what these feelings were, it was then another thing I was worried about. You know, is this normal? Is this something that a lot of people have? Does this make me weird? Does this make me strange? You know, what do I do about it to stop it? How can I bring this to a close? And eventually I plucked up the courage, and I booked an appointment with a therapist on campus at university. And I spoke to them, and I can remember vividly walking out of that room and just feeling 2 tons lighter. I felt like when I went in there, I had the worries of the world on my shoulders. All this sort of anxiety and stress building up, it was just sort of sat on my chest for so long. And just talking about it with someone who understood and someone who knew what they were talking about, a professional person, was invaluable. It really was such an awesome experience. And the mistake I'd made is that I hadn't told anyone. You know, and actually looking back now, I know that I should have spoken to my friends. God, I should have spoken to my family, you know, but I just didn't think I could. It's a very strange feeling. It's very difficult to sort of explain why I didn't feel like I could now. Looking back, it's very difficult to explain, but in the moment, it just didn't feel like it was something I should say. And in the end, thankfully, I decided to do so. And to hear that person sat opposite me say, You know, she leant forward and she said to me, you know, this is normal. What you're feeling is normal. You know, you're not strange, you're not odd, you're not a freak or any of these sorts of things. It's all perfectly normal, and you don't need to worry about it. And here's how you stop it. And here are the measures that you put in place to address it. And as I said, I came out of that room and I just felt like, whereas, as I said, for that previous few weeks, it was like I was carrying around this rucksack full of boulders and rocks. It was like I just got rid of it, and it was liberating. And I would really encourage anyone who sounds like me back in December of 2013, if you're carrying that load, get rid of it. Talk to somebody, talk to a family, talk to friends, whoever it may be. You know, go to the doctor, speak to them, speak to anybody, but just share it, get it off your chest, because I promise you that it will make the absolute world of difference. So thank you very much for listening.